Good Erev Shabbos, Parshas BeMidbar. Shavuos is right around the corner. In the middle of this Sedra, we are apprised of all the various heads of the tribes. And one of the heads of the tribes, the Torah tells us, is Eliasaph ben Deuel. However, Eliasaph ben Deuel is also recorded a parak later in the parsha as Eliasaph ben Reuel. So is he Eliasaph ben Deuel with a dalid, or is he Eliasaph ben Reuel? The Tur HaAruch, citing the Ramban, says that it is not uncommon for the Torah to change a letter or to change a person's name in order to impart some significant information about the person mentioned in Tanakh. So they're both the same individual, and his name is both Reuel and Deuel, and this double appellation is meant to impart some information. So what is that information? What is that significant point about Reuel Deuel that we have to know? The Chizkuni points out that it's only here in this one time that he is known as Reuel. Anywhere else where Eliasaph ben Reuel is mentioned, he's mentioned as Eliasaph ben Deuel. So what is it? Who is this? And what is the significance of this Reuel-Deuel dichotomy? Rabbeinu Bechaya says that the name Reuel is a conjugation of two words, Reah, which means friend or caring, and Kel, Hashem. So Reuel indicates that this individual had a particular care, desire, closeness, intimacy, commitment to Hashem, a friend of Hashem. Deuel indicates that the person had knowledge, yediyah, of Kel, of God. Kel, Deuel. So who is Eliasaph ben Reuel, Eliasaph ben Deuel? Apparently this individual, Reuel, is a person who signified extraordinary knowledge of Hashem and extraordinary care, friendship, commitment, kindness that he demonstrated towards Hashem. So we're dancing around the question here. What's the point? Where do we see this? Who is this person? What is the essential Reuel Deuel that the Torah is trying to impart to us here? Okay, he had knowledge of Hashem, he was a friend of Hashem, but where, what, how? The Aznaim LaTorah points out on the pasuk, Umate Gad, the tribe of Gad. The way the Jewish people were encamped in the desert, there was the Mishkan in the center, and around the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the center, you had three tribes encamped on each of the four directions. So you had on the east, on the west, on the north, on the south. On each side of the Mishkan, there were three of the Shvatim. Now, each one of those Shvatim, each one of those camps, if you will, had one standard bearer. One of the three Shvatim on each side held the degel, had the honor of holding the flag of that camp. And as it turns out, Dan and Gad were both firstborn to their mothers. And Dan was chosen to be a standard bearer in his group. And Gad, though a firstborn, and one could suggest has some special status as the firstborn, we have that mentioned also in our Sedra, one could assume that as the firstborn from his mother, that Gad would be given the honor of being the standard bearer, the flag bearer in his machan, in his group. And yet, Gad is passed over. The Chida points out that it is because of God's reaction, which was nil. He didn't say anything. He saw what happened. He could have felt resentment. He could have felt envy. He could have felt jealousy. He could have protested. He could have done any number of reactions. However, the Shevet Gad as a whole, and represented by their leadership, said nothing. This is an extraordinary statement of character. And this is the difference between, and this is what is represented in the change of the name from Deuel to Reuel. Not only somebody who knows Hashem, but somebody who is a Reya, who is a friend of Hashem, who understands, who has not just an intellectual commitment towards God, but a deep emotional commitment, a psychological commitment, one in which there is a sense of intimacy and closeness, one in which the little slights here, perceived slights here and there, can be overlooked. And because of this great reaction, silence in the face of legitimate and justifiable resentment, anger, and jealousy, Reuel is given the name Reuel. Eliasaph ben Deuel, the representative of the tribe of God, is not just Deuel, somebody who knows Hashem, but somebody who is Reuel, somebody who is a friend of Hashem, in the greatest sense of that word. Rabbi Sorotzkin in his Aznayim LaTorah makes a fascinating point, and he comments that in each one of these three groups, four groups of three, on each of the four sides of the Mishkan, there were three Shvatim, and in each group there was one Shevet, says Rabbi Sorotzkin, shehitztayim bigvura lihiyos lemofes l'chol hamachaneh. There was one tribe in each of the four groups that excelled in Gvura. Gvura means strength, means power, raw physical strength. But maybe, just maybe, God is the one that is chosen, says Rabbi Sorotzkin, to represent Gvura in his group. And perhaps the reason is not because simply of his physical strength, God Gidud Yigudenu, but because of the spiritual strength of character that God showed, that the tribe of God showed, by holding themselves back when they had every justification to let loose. And this is something that goes down for the ages. Not simply Eliasaph ben Deuel, knowledge of Hashem, but Eliasaph ben Reuel, being a true friend of Hashem. And this, of course, is a message for all of us, that it is one thing as we enter the Chag of Shavuos, it is one thing for us to imbibe the knowledge of the Torah, an awareness and knowledge of Hashem, but something even deeper, that it should be in our kishkas, a love, a friendship, an intimacy. And that is something that we must grab onto as well. As we celebrate Zman Matan Torasenu, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us the breadth of mind and openness of heart, not only to have Yedias Hashem, knowledge of God and His Torah, but for all of us to be Reuels, to be true Re'im, friends, caring friends of the Ribono Shel Olam Himself. Good Shabbos and a good Yontif to all.